Okay, we are live. Welcome back to Getting Real. This is the show where we go beyond the glossy stories and talk about the real journey to wealth, freedom, and feminine power. And I'm your host, Monique Hom. And today we're talking about something that is really, really game changing. This is something that when I learned that this even existed and was possible, and then how to do it, completely transformed my investing. This is the thing that allowed me to go from having two doors to 1,012 doors in 1 year. This happened in 2016. So I found out about this thing in late 2015 and then started to implement in early 2016, and it just completely shifted everything. So we're going to talk about this. So if you've ever thought about wanting to invest, wanting to scale, wanting to get bigger, but not having the money, and you've wanted to, or you've then, or thought about getting investors, what I'm talking about is having investors and having private capital that you can tap into for your real estate investing. But if you've either never even thought this was possible for you, ever even knew this was a thing, never considered it, or you've heard about it and you've considered it, but you just don't see how you could do it. You don't think you're ready. You think you need to have this perfect deal before you can do it. Then this is your wake up call. This is the show where we're going to talk about how you can tap into this in a more in a feminine way, right? I remember working with a group of goddesses a little while back, helping them raise over $500,000 for a deal for many, for I think all of them. It was their first time raising capital. It was a big, big number that they were going after. And once they were able to do it, it just completely shifted everything. It was such a game changer for them. And they got so much confidence and was able to go on and do more. So this episode is called Building a Network That Funds Your Dreams, and why connection comes before capital. Um, so we're often taught that the money will come after we've done all the work, after you find the deal, after you've proven yourself. But in real estate, and especially in this feminine way of doing business, capital doesn't come from chasing. It comes from connection and attraction. It's people first. So it's about having aligned relationships where you've shared your vision, you have a common vision, mission, purpose, and people who are in alignment with that want to help fund your dreams. Actually, no, they don't want to help fund your dreams. It has nothing to do with you. What it has to do is this common vision, mission, vision helps fund their dreams, helps them create their goals, right? And that's why they're in. It works. It's win-win. It'll help fund your dreams too. That's not why they're doing it. They're doing it because it funds their own dreams. And you can start building that network now. You don't have to wait. You don't have to have a deal. You don't have to have the perfect plan. You can start building that list of people who are ready to jump in with you now. So let's talk about how. Okay. So the first myth, because there's a couple myths. One is that you don't raise capital until you already have a deal. Once you have a deal, you have it like, okay, I found this thing, then I want to fund. Now I'm going to go out and like dial for dollars and pound the pavement to fund it. And there's this belief, mistaken belief that you can't even start until you have a deal. Once you have this deal, once you're under contract, then you can go around and say, "Hey, I have this deal and are you interested?" But you definitely do not need to have a deal first to have those conversations and to get people onto your list. In fact, I think it's harder when you have a deal, e easier beforehand. Um, because here's the thing, when you have a deal, then it's basically when you're asking people to invest, it's yes or no. Do you want to invest in this deal or not? And so they're gonna go yes or no. But and often if you haven't had a conversation with them before this, if they haven't already expressed interest, it's usually gonna be a no because it takes time for a lot of people to get to the point in which they're able to be a yes. So it's definitely easier to have a conversation in the hypothetical, right? You start having these conversations with people and you can ask questions like, if I had a deal that looked like this, right? Might you be interested in investing? Right? What or if you were going to invest in a deal, what kind of returns would you be looking for? What would make a great investment for you? If it's not this, then what would it look like? How about if there was this there, right? What would need to be true for you for this to be a yes? What if, right? You can do these hypotheticals. What's beautiful is you can create whatever hypothetically. So, oh, okay. So if it was this and that, and it had some sustainable features and it gave you this type of return, that'd be interesting for you. Okay. Right. Then you can make notes and say, all right, so and so is looking for this because this what if is really a powerful, powerful phrase or how about, right? When you can do these hypotheticals, you can figure out exactly what would serve the other person because ultimately this is not about you for them. Right? For them, it's about them and what are their goals. So when you can really get clear on what would help them reach their goals, what their vision is, then you can and what would be a yes for them, then you go find a deal that fits that's a match for them or for more of your investors, right? Because it's definitely easier to find deals that match people than people for your deals. And one last thing about that. When you have a deal and the clock is ticking, right? And there's a pressure on you. There's this energy. There's like a desperation because you're desperate to fund your deals. And that is a needy energy, and needy is creepy. So you want to have that's the other reason why there's no pressure when there's no deal. Right? It's just hey, what about this? What about that? Right? No pressure. You just want to know more about how I can serve you. What would meet your needs, right? So that's the first myth. Why you don't have to have a deal first. Now let's talk about why the connection comes before capital. Yeah. Um, Again, we often are thinking about raising capital as something that we're doing for ourselves, right there. And I remember thinking, like, why would anyone write me a check for 50,000 or 100,000 or $1 million? Why would they do that? Exactly. Why would they? They won't. They're not doing it about for me. When I'm they're doing it for them. It is not about our deal, our goal, our dream. And when you try to sell that, yeah, they're not interested. That's like why would they do that? When you reframe and find out what is their need, what do they have to do? Because a lot of people want their money working harder for them. They want They worked hard for their money. Now they want their money to go off and come back with friends. They they want an investment that's going to do better than the bank account or the stock market. They're tired of watching their money sitting in a savings account making nothing. They're terrified about the stock market. They want something different. They want something real property. And they want someone they trust to help them do it. And that's where you can come in. When you offer a well structured investment opportunity, you're not asking for a favor. You're giving them an opportunity. You're creating a win win. And I remember when I first found out about bringing investors together to purchase larger commercial properties and what was possible. It's like, wait, you mean as a passive investor, I can get double-digit returns, like, doing nothing? Because I started passively investing too. So some of my money went into my deals, and then some of my money went into other people's deals. And I was getting better returns than what I'd gotten doing all of the work in Los Angeles, where I was like, you were so lucky to break even. And, until I knew that you could invest in other markets and other asset classes, and there were like you could make much bigger returns, I thought I was limited to my own capital and credit. I thought I had to invest where I lived, and where I lived is really expensive, and there was just very little cash flow. And then I find out that you can passively invest in other people's deals. Usually, you don't even find out about them because you often have to have a pre-existing relationship with someone. So when I found out that this was possible, and then I started to meet people, I remember talking to one of my law school friends, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I've been investing in these types of deals for years. I've been investing with this other law school friend." He says, "Oh my God, he's made me a fortune." And I was like, it would have been nice if someone offered that to me. I would have loved to have been investing in those deals too. I would have loved to have made a fortune, right? Like I was scrambling, doing all the work myself, making less money. And I was like, nobody told me about this. And so when the people are offered these opportunities to invest, they're grateful. They're grateful to know that this is a thing, that exists, that they're not stuck with the paltry savings, what they get at the bank or, the stock market, which is crazy. They can get invested in real estate. They can get invested with tax benefits. They can invest it with really good returns with, a good team. If it's a good team, right? So if it's with you, and you know what you're doing, then they're grateful. You're offering them this opportunity that most people do not get. So it's not about you. It's about them. So it's really, so when you reframe that, so when I was able to shift thinking from, oh my gosh, why would anybody write me a check, to realizing, oh, I can give somebody an opportunity that they don't otherwise have. And they can say yes or no, but like offering them this opportunity is so great, then that understanding changes everything, changed everything for me. It made me go from, oh, I can't ask, I'm really scared, to like, not, I didn't have to, like it came, it just started magnetizing. And there was no needy, creepy energy because it's like, I don't need it. When there's a great deal, there's money there. If people know you and they know about it, they know that this is an option. Then when you offer the opportunity and it's a match, and they'll say, yes, it's easy. So, how do you begin? It's simpler than you think. You don't need a big email list. You don't need like a slick pitch deck. Really, you just need to start talking about what you're up to. And there are certain strategies around that, but I'll just give you I want to tell you a story in my life about when I first started to raise capital. I was I would post on Facebook. So first it would be posting about my flips because I was starting flipping, and then when I started to look into doing larger commercial properties, I was sharing my updates, posting about that, what I was learning, where I was investing, what I was excited about. And maybe a couple months into this is or like earlier in the year, I started in January, maybe it's like around April. I'm out walking my dog, and one of my neighbors stops me. Is like, "Oh, hey, Monique." She says, I saw that on Facebook that you're doing some real estate investing." I said, "Yeah." She goes, "I want to talk to you about something." I was like, "Yeah, sure. Come, walk with me. We'll just walk around the block." So she walks around the block with me, and then I'm asking her questions about what's going on with her, and she just like they sold something, and they had this amount of money sitting there, and I not trying to pitch, not trying to sell anything, just saying, "Oh yeah, we're doing this thing, and um, their like returns are like this." And I think we actually did have a live deal at that point, but by the time we got around the block, right, just one block, she'd committed $140,000 to our next deal. It was like that. I was like, "What just happened? What just happened?" I was like, this is crazy." And it was like, just this is just from like being open and authentic and aligned and having a clear vision and having a connection. Right? So this is somebody I'd known for a while, somebody who just trusted me. So there are people out there, and once they know what you're about, what your vision is, what you're doing, when you're open and you can invite them. Sometimes they'll come to you. Oftentimes at this point, most of our investors seek me out, right? And you can also, set yourself up so that you are the magnet, or you're the flower, and they come to you, versus like going after and chasing. But at this, you can set yourself up so that you're really attracting, and then it all feels like magic and ease. So anyway, if this is resonating with you, something you want to do, then I want to invite you to join me for a masterclass that I'm doing a week from today, May 14. It's called How to Raise Your First $1 Million in Capital the Feminine Way. So if this is for you, even if you don't have a deal, maybe you do, but even if you don't, which is better, like we talked about, you've never raised a dollar before, you're not sure where to start, or you've tried and it hasn't worked very well, and it felt like pushy or awkward or, like off, then I invite you to come join me for this. It's going to be, I'm going to put the link in the chat, but it's essentially a tiny URL. I put a longer link, but if you go to tinyurl.com/REIG for Real Estate Investor Goddesses, REIG May 14, that will bring you to the landing page. So we can talk about how you do this, how you raise capital with confidence, with ease, alignment, and in the feminine way. So authentic relationships, aligned action, and yes, massive results. So that is, um, so definitely join me there. And now we're going to close with a Trinity. And if you were, for those of you who are here live, and I saw, hi, Denise. It's good to see you here. Please share your Trinity in the chat, in the comments. So Trinity is a brag, a gratitude, and a desire. Right? So brag, your celebration. So I celebrate and brag that I was just looking at how much I've raised, and I realized I've raised over $22 million. That's just me and like as in different investment groups, way more than that. But that was very cool to see that. Doing this pretty part-time. So that's a brag. I'm proud of. And that, yeah. So I brag that. And I'm grateful for all the investors who've trusted me, invested with us, and who have just been on this journey. um, I'm really really grateful for each of them, and for the future ones as well. And lastly, I desire for you to know that capital raising is not only is it possible for you, but it's like if you're at all intrigued, like it's definitely for you, and it's going to be a complete game changer. That is my desire. That is my desire. So definitely join us at the masterclass, upcoming masterclass, tinyurl.com/REIG May 14. And if you are not interested in raising capital, but you are interested in being on the investor list, you would like to be an investor, and find out about our opportunities, then I invite you to go to our website, reigoddesses.com, under Investor Club. You fill out this short questionnaire, and then we get on a call where I get to find out what your goals and desires are, so we can find opportunities that are a match for you, that are alignment for you. Because again, as somebody who raises capital, works with investors, it's always about the investor. It's about the investors finding opportunities to have them have their money go out and come back with friends in a way that aligns with their vision and values and goals. So if you're wanting either to be on the capital raising side or to be on the investor side or both, go to the website and sign up. So thank you for getting real with me today. Oh, I hope this episode lit you on fire, because nothing else has changed the game for me like working with investors. Nothing else. It is like the leverage you get, the ability to scale is incredible. Like that was, before I started, I was thinking like the biggest thing I could imagine was this fourplex in Los Angeles. And then I was told that, you could bring a group of investors together, you could get 100 or 200 units. My brain exploded. I did not know this was a thing. But once I did, I was off to the races. It's a complete game changer. You can quantum leap when you have this skill. So I'm super excited that you were here, and I hope to see you at the masterclass. Thanks for getting real with me today. Until next time, let's get real and stay real. Bye-bye.